Giddy up and welcome back to Basics with me, JP here at Brizy. And in this series, we look at those things that are often not covered when we are doing tutorials or showing you updates. But for beginners, they may be a little bit foreign. You hear the term, you go ahead and you do what we tell you to do, but you don't really know where they come from. Now, in 99% of the cases, you don't really need to know what's going on. It's like driving a car. You know some things about the car, but if that engine breaks, you are completely clueless. But it is important to know how to put petrol, which kind of petrol, and those kind of things. And that's what we're trying to cover with the Back to Basics. We're talking about Favicon. Favicon is one of those few things that when it comes to website builders, that's actually got nothing to do with the builder. It's all about the website. And whichever CMS you are using, whether it's WordPress in this case, or over here I have Brizy Cloud, you're going to have to use a Favicon. Let's first find out what is a Favicon. In fact, you have seen them hundreds, thousands, millions of times, and the easiest way for you to understand what a Favicon is to look here at my browser and the tabs here at the top. I have YouTube, I have Apple, Amazon, and we'll talk about these guys soon. But when you look at these three at the very beginning, you don't even need to read what their names are. You see their logos up there in that little tab. And that small little logo, that is the brand or the corporate identity. That is the Favicon, and it comes from way back when Microsoft started with their browsers and they wanted a icon. When you bookmark a web page and you save it as a favorite, and then that icon will link to it, Favicon or Fav icon, then that is the icon that will be displayed in your bookmark manager. Now, the Favicon recently isn't only used for your favorites, and up here it's also used on mobile devices to appear on the screen. So the Favicon is pretty important for your website. Let's jump then here into WordPress, and this little icon you see here, this Favicon with the globe, this is a standard WordPress Favicon. I cannot tell you how many times I go onto websites and I see this icon appears in the top, and that tells me your website has been made with WordPress. That's fine. We all love WordPress, but that you haven't even switched out the Favicon, it's probably a very new design. And you need to step that up. Favicon is one of the first things you should do. Same here, over in Brizy, you can see that here we have the Brizy Cloud icon that appears, and you need to switch these guys out for your own personal icon. Now, how this works in WordPress is that you have to do that within the theme. In the navigation sidebar on the left, and I go to themes, I have the 2023 theme here. I also have Blocksy, but you can go to settings, general, and note we have site icon. And that's important because Favicon is often referred to as site icon. And we're going to do that over here. I'm jumping quickly into Photoshop. And let's talk about all the requirements for a Favicon. You can get them online ready-made. You're probably going to design one yourself. If you are doing that and you have something like Photoshop or another photo editing or graphic editing software, then these are the basics. Now, back when Favicon was 16 by 16 pixels, which is super small, but you understand that small little thing at the top of the browser tab, that is pretty small, but we cannot do that anymore that small. If you put it into WordPress or Brizy Cloud, in the end, the platform will determine how it will display. So it's better to have a larger Favicon than a smaller one. And I, for some reason, go for a width at 640 pixels by 640 height. And this is the canvas. This is the size of the maximum size your Favicon needs to be. I'll say create and we get a square. So point number one, it has to be square and go for something over 500 pixels. I just go for 640 by 640. The next thing is I'm going to bring in my Favicon. I have my logo here. I'll drag it in. And all I'm going to do is just make it big until I get my logo there. And then let's center align it. This is not a SVG, it's a PNG, so it doesn't look that great. Remember, it's going to be much smaller when we get to the browser. Oh, it's center aligned. I think that is fine. Then it's very important that you have to make sure that your background is transparent. In Photoshop, all I do is I turn the background layer off and you will see this checkered background. You're going to see it works in all other editors the same. Once you see that checkered background, you have that transparent background. From here, I'm going to export it, and then I will just put it on PNG. And that's point number 3, is that you have to export it as PNG and you really want to keep it as small as possible. And I'll go ahead and call it export, and I'll call this one Favicon, and we say save. Back in WordPress, and what we need to do is let's first open a front-end version of our website. I'll go here, Control-click, Command-click, it opens a new tab, and here we have our website. I'm going to use that Favicon, even though this is a traveling website. Notice that currently it is the WordPress Favicon. Go back, and I'll go to choose a site icon, and I'll bring in my Favicon, select and set as site icon. If you need to crop it, you can do it here as well, and that's it. Very important, when you get here, remember to scroll to the very bottom and select Save Changes. After I've done that, you can even see this WordPress version I'm currently working in has updated with that Favicon. Select this, refresh, and ta-da! We have that Favicon there. Now let's hop on over to Brizy. Here is the front end. You can again see that we have the Brizy Favicon currently. Skip back into our builder. For this, navigation sidebar on the left, click in the top left corner, and then select Project Settings in the bottom. And first one that opens is General under Site. And you're going to see you have Favicon, but note you also have an option here for a web clip. If you want to know more about a web clip, this is especially for iPhone users. And the bottom line is for a web clip, it needs to be bigger. Many don't use this. You don't have to use it. But go ahead and read up a little bit about that if you are interested in making sure that your website's icon, your site icon, is going to look good across all devices. Right, so let's click Select. The media library opens. I can click here on Add. And then we go ahead, select it, and then select Insert File, Save Changes. And for this one, even if I refresh the Brizy Builder, you're going to see it will stay on the Brizy icon because it's within the builder. To the front end though, refresh. Results spectacular. And there is our Favicon. And that's it. The bottom line is you need a Favicon for every site you make. It's good so that when people save your site, they will have that little indicator to give you your branding. And it will look like you know what you're doing. That's the end of our Back to Basics from me, JP. Hey, a quick note, remember to give us a like for this video, subscribe to YouTube, and then visit us at brizy.io.